Welcome to the Abroad Budget. In this quick video, I want to share with you how I set up and reset my monthly expense budget using a paper form budget tracker. Let's get started. I have two sheets here. On the right, I will list my expenses, and to the left, I will transfer those expenses and list them on my expense budget tracker. Here I will itemize each expense according to three categories. 1, non-negotiables, 2, automated, and 3, what I use for the cash envelope system. Now, after I've listed the expenses on the budget tracker, I will mark through them throughout the month once I've paid them off. So, I'm going to generate my expense list here, starting with the non-negotiables. Starting with, for me, tithe and giving. Next, rent. Then we have electric. And personally, I like to separate my utilities. I like to list each one because they all are separate expenses, including the water bill, which is a non-negotiable expense I will list on the tracker here. There's also my international sale expense. Which is different from my home country sale device. I prefer to have both, just in case I decide to travel elsewhere. Now, the following expenses I categorize as automated, which is coming from my home country's bank account, so I don't have to use cash payments with these expenses, which includes my home sale provider, or home sale. Then you have Netflix. Then you have bank CD that's automatically deducted from the account. Also, an automatic draft for an ETF investment for my money management account. At this point, I'm going to place a time lapse for the rest of the expenses. Now the expenses are listed, time to transfer them over to the expense budget tracker. The goal here is that once all the expenses are transferred over to the budget tracker, they're to be marked off throughout the month as each one is paid. It's useful to list the expense, the foreign currency, and the home currency amount. I think it's handy because it keeps you on track with your expenses exchange rates. First, I'll list non-negotiables, automated, and then cash envelope expenses. With this first completed non-negotiable section, the expenses will be paid with cash using the cash envelope system. The next group of expenses will be automated and electronically deducted from my account, so no cash needed for this particular section of expenses. The last group of expenses will use the cash envelope system and will be marked and tracked accordingly. At this point, I turn my attention to the currency exchange app, which helps me stay focused on what I'm spending in the foreign currency amount versus my home currency. Technically, I start with tithing and giving, but since that's subjective, I'll start with rent. There are many ranges for rent amounts when living abroad, just like anywhere else. But for me and my comfort, the amount is 14,000 baht per month, which in baht, the exchange rate for USD for 14,000 baht is $437.87. And to keep things simple and easy for me, I just round up to the next whole dollar. So $438. Next, electric. And for me, it averages around 2,000 baht per month. Sometimes 18, but I just go ahead and put 2,000, which comes to $62.55. I round up to $63. A water expense of 175 baht per month comes to $5.47 USD, rounded up to $6. Next non-negotiable is my international cell phone, which comes to average around 1,200 a month, and that comes to 38 US dollars. This section, the non-negotiable, will use the cash envelope system as mentioned earlier and marked off whenever each bill has been paid. At this time, I like to go to each expense column and total the currency amounts. Adding up what the non-negotiables will cost me in baht for the month will give me a general idea of what my budget amounts to. And the average non-negotiable expenses comes to around 17,375 baht, which you can see with the exchange rate, that amount comes to in USD $543.43, which I round up to $544. Now for the total automated expenses that are deducted and withdrawn from my account, that total comes to 1,296 US dollars. And lastly, the cash envelope amount totals in USD $1,275. And that's my realistic budget living abroad. More or less $100, some maybe up to $200, just depends on how I spend, what I choose to save. Well, that's the budget for my lifestyle. Yours and anyone else's can be totally different, could be far more or much less. I hope this video gives you an idea of how I use the budget tracker to set up, reset, and stay aligned with my expenses. If the video gave you a little bit of value, please like, comment, subscribe to the Abroad Budget. Thanks so much for watching. Blessings.